Welcome back to another edition of the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. Not sure what the episode number is, but I'll find out as soon as I look at our list once again. But today, we're here with a guest, Ben Retcofsky. Tell us how you're doing, Ben.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. How was your weekend?
It was good. I was watching a little basketball last night. Yeah, it was good.
Oh. And Justin?
Well, I had to work yesterday, so that is what it is with that. But it was week's been pretty good, man. I can't complain too much. I'm here, so honestly, that's all you can ask for.
In case Ben hasn't known, where do you tell him where you work at?
I work at a restaurant that will be going unnamed in this podcast. I'll tell you. I'll just give you this: that it's a steak place, so that narrows it down a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, we're here and we're talking all about baseball today. It's going to be an MLB preview. But before we get into it, we're going to do our quick hitters of the week. Justin, do you have any quick hitters that you thought of?
Yeah, so we're just going to get right into it. So if you didn't know, Fairleigh Dickinson, with the upset of the tournament so far, beating number one Purdue. And, obviously people were talking about the upset and how Purdue, was pretty much, it was a mismatch for the game. They didn't really shoot well. And, obviously they rely a lot on their big guy, Edie. But there's a guy in Fairleigh Dickinson that I actually know, I actually went to school with. His name's, I hope I'm not botching this. It's like, his name is Braden Reynolds. He played for Charters Valley for 4 years in varsity. And I don't know if he's a freshman this year or he's a sophomore, but he was actually on the team. And I think he actually played too. So shout out to him. That's a lifetime moment you'll never forget. First of all, making the tournament in itself is amazing. And then you beat a number one seed. That's just crazy. It's wild that someone came from Charters Valley. That's actually in the NCAA tournament. I mean, the last person I can think of was TJ McConnell, obviously. So just to have another guy, make the tournament, that's pretty cool. So that's pretty short and sweet for this week for me for quick hitter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's going to be another one is around this area, Lincoln Park, Nellie Cummings, and then a couple years ago from my high school, Devin Wilson from Montour played for Virginia Tech. So, hey, people from the Whippeal are everywhere.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Wow.
Great athletes come from the Whippeal. But I do want to add on to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Okay.
This is I have two quick hitters we can use. My first quick hitter, I'll just go through it quick. Virginia should have won that game. Don't know what happened there. Kihei Clark had a phenomenal pass to Diakate a couple years ago to help send that game to overtime against Purdue. To end his career, though, bad pass. If you guys have probably all seen it. Pegues hits the game winner for Furman after a turnover with 2.2 seconds left. What a wild finish. My other quick hitter, Princeton over Arizona. Honestly, I didn't have it, but I'm not shocked because I had Arizona losing to Missouri. I just wasn't sure they were going to lose to Princeton. But if you watch that game, Princeton just played a really smart game. You could tell they were from the Ivy League. But I do want to say one thing about Fairleigh Dickinson. They were a 16 seed. But they shouldn't, in my opinion, they should not even have been in the tournament because they didn't win their conference tournament. Merrimack did.
Wait, how did Fairleigh Dickinson get in that?
Merrimack was Division II a couple years ago. You have to wait, I think it's 3 or 4 years before you're eligible for the tournament.
Oh, come on.
So Merrimack won the NAC, but Fairleigh Dickinson, since they were the second place team, took their spot.
Wow. I never knew that. That's wild.
That's why, Fairleigh Dickinson, they were 21-15. They lost to Pitt earlier this year by 22 points. Isn't that crazy?
That is. I mean, I was thinking, did they win because they had to win their conference, and no, they didn't. Dang.
Yeah, it happened last year to Bellarmine, too. Jacksonville State took their spot. Bellarmine beat Jacksonville in the championship game. What conference is that? Atlantic Sun? I think. I don't know the conference. It's a smaller conference, but yeah, Bellarmine won their conference. Jacksonville State took. Yeah, it's the second year in a row something like that's happened.
Yeah, I don't like that rule. That's stupid.
Me neither. Merrimack's been in the NEC since RMU was in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're eligible next year. But that sucks if you're a senior at Merrimack, you won your tournament.
Well, yeah, that and then the fact that a lot of those conferences they're one team gets in. It's not like you get 4 or 5 as opposed to like the Power 5. So like, you work all year long for that, and we all know how March Madness works. Like your best chance is that year because next year's not guaranteed, and I just think that just sucks, man. I hopefully they make an appearance here in the next couple of years whenever they're eligible, quote unquote. But that's some BS, man.
I hope Bellarmine does too, because the same thing happened to them because they beat Louisville this year, but everyone beat Louisville this year.
Oh, let's say they're 4-28 for a reason.
Yeah. But anyways, Ben, do you have any quick hitters?
Duke's gonna win it all this year.
There you have it. Speaking of that, you want to talk about, before we get into baseball, we could talk about March Madness for like 5 minutes.
I don't see why not.
I definitely want to like hit on it. But yeah, Duke, I mean, you and I both have them for a championship game. I have them against Texas.
I have them against Houston.
You saw what they did to Oral Roberts.
Oh, they destroyed them. And when people were picking Oral Roberts as a trendy Cinderella team, and Oral Roberts, they're a good team, but Duke just destroyed them. Dude,
and plus, like, they were talking about Vanover, who was from Arkansas, transferred there from Oral Roberts. I mean, the thing is, Duke has an equalizer in Philip Kowski. Team is just shot the lights out against Pitt in the ACC tournament. 174-51 against a really good Oral Roberts team. So, yeah. But before we get into it, my Final Four, it's still intact. It's UCLA, Alabama, Texas, and Duke. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with a couple of those. So yeah, I have Houston, Kansas, Alabama, of course, and then Duke. I said from the beginning, if Duke, I didn't trust Purdue to go very far. I didn't think they'd lose their first game, but I said if everything breaks where Duke can make a run in the Final Four, and I think if they can beat Tennessee, they have a clear path, I think, to get there. And not only that, I think they can get to the championship game too, because I think they're more than capable of beating Alabama. And I think people got lost in the shuffle with Duke because they weren't ranked number 1 most of the year. And people, they're. I mean, not that they're a good team, they were, but like it was just compared to previous years, they were always top 5, top 3. And I think people forgot that they still have a lot of talent. And around February, they started playing really well. We saw they won the ACC tournament too, so they're a good team. And if you're anyone that's potentially playing them, you don't want to play them. They're playing very good basketball right now.
Yeah, and Pitt ran into that, and it almost knocked them out of the tournament. Pitt literally had to beat 2 of the better defenses in the country just to prove that, hey, we're a legit team. And in Penn State too as well. I mean, you beat Illinois 3 times, you win all these games, and they get marked as a 10 seed. I mean, you could not tell me that Iowa State is better than that team.
Penn State, they hung in with Purdue too. Like it wasn't like Purdue killed them. They lost by a 1 possession game. So, shoot.
I see Ben. He went to Penn State Barron, so I know he's happy about how Penn State's doing right now.
That's right.
How's Luke Schingler doing with Penn State right now?
He's happy so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much longer he'll be happy, but right now we're good.
Yeah, and then West Virginia. West Virginia and Maryland may have been the best game of the tournament, honestly. So far. It was a good game.
Yeah, it's funny. It was a game of runs, man. West Virginia got out to a big lead, then Maryland kind of cut it down. There's back and forth, and then Maryland pulled away. But West Virginia, I think they're a solid team. It's just like the conference that they were in. You have Kansas, Texas, TCU. I can go on. Kansas State. That's a tough conference. So I think a lot of that was they were beating up on each other, and 14 losses I don't think is reflective of West Virginia. I think they're a good team, but it's March Madness, so it's a 1-game elimination, and they just didn't win. I mean, that just happens. So
yeah, and it's been a good tournament though.
No, it has.
Good games. Like last year, I felt like there was a lot of blowouts. This year, even Arizona State and TCU, that was a great game last night.
No, it was. TCU.
Drake and Miami was close, too.
Yeah, Drake. I actually picked Drake to beat Miami because, Drake I thought was another solid team that could make a run. But, Miami's a good team, too. Like these are all good teams. Like there's not really a major gap maybe from the 1 seeds to about the 12 or 13 seeds. There's not that much disparity, in my opinion. You catch someone off on the wrong shooting night, it's fair game. So, TCU, they came back. They were losing most of that game to Arizona State. So, hats off to Jamie Dixon, former Pitt head coach.
Yeah, Mike Miles Jr., too. what a performance. He almost had 30 points last night. TCU, in my opinion, I think Arizona State, too, they kind of got the pit treatment where this team is higher than an 11 seed. I mean, last night's game was like, they're more of like a 9 in my opinion. But TCU, I think, could have been higher, too, if Mike Miles, I mean, he missed 8 games down the stretch. So, yeah, but anyways, yeah, I think it's time for some baseball, though.
Yeah, we can talk baseball. Let's go.
Well, yeah, so how are you guys feeling? Do you guys want to go division by division, just talk about each team?
Sure.
You guys want to touch on the World Baseball Classic a little bit?
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I can talk about it for a little. Yeah.
Have you been watching it at all, Justin?
So like, I'll be honest with you. I've kind of tailed off since March Madness just started. But
Right.
that first week or so, I was watching a lot of it though.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I find it to be like very fun to watch. Honestly,
It's electric, man.
It is.
The energy is different in the World Baseball Classic.
I see a lot of clips on Twitter too. Like just like the amount of viral clips, it's like a global thing, and I think I've actually enjoyed it more than watching like actual MLB baseball because guys are allowed to emote, they're allowed to flip their bat, and they're not going to get hit. Like it's,
Right.
I think that's the problem with baseball. It's too much. A lot of people that are invested in the sport, they have like certain beliefs of how you're supposed to play the game, and I respect those. But at the same time, like we're in 2023, and guys, they express themselves differently. And I think if we embrace that more, I think baseball will become a lot more respected in more circles. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you have traditional people, like people who come to mind for me are going to be like Max Scherzer. You have like Madison Bumgarner.
Mm-hmm.
They're tough. They're tough old pitchers, and they're definitely credible, but they play the game old school type where, if you hit a home run off them, you touch your bases and you go back to the dugout. And then you got someone like Tatis who comes onto the scene and he's ready to show however he's feeling, however he wants to show it. And I think I agree with you that I think it's fun. I think it brings a lot of life to the game, especially in a game where, obviously they've cut it down with the pitch clock. But games that were going 3 hours, it's like that's stuff that you want to see. When a guy hits a home run, you want to see that he's excited about it. So.
I do want to add too, like it's exciting to watch because, like, I don't know, the other day, this is obviously we're all from the U.S. and stuff, and they were playing Mexico. Mexico came out, put a beating on Team USA. And let me tell you, this isn't just any Team USA team. Like literally every American player you can think of who's going to play infield and outfield for this team is on that team. And Mexico came out, and then Joey Meneses, his second home run, did that bat flip. I don't even know where that bat went.
Oh, it's in space somewhere.
Yeah. And like, but even as an USA fan, there was a lot of Team Mexico fans there, and it was a crazy atmosphere to see that home run go out, see him do the bat flip. Like, you can't replicate it. I sent a video to Ben. It was Yu Chang. It was overseas in Taiwan, and Yu Chang hits this home run, ties the game up. And it was electric. And, KBO and all KBO, baseball in Japan, they have, like, cheerleaders on the dugouts. It's more of, like, think of, like, a soccer game and a football game, kind of, how that student section is. That's how they play baseball over there. And so whenever you see Yu Chang hit that home run and him going around the bases screaming, getting emotional about it, that's going to bring in more viewers for the sport as well. Yes, old school baseball is important. I know for me when I played in high school and stuff, I was never one to really celebrate and taunt like that. But when you see other people doing it, you can see why, because the emotions can just get to you. And it's great to see. It's great for the sport. I mean, if you watch KBO baseball too, it's the same way. Yeah. Tossing the bat flips. Whatever it may be. I mean, even if you watch like some of the Korea players, like Ha-seong Kim and stuff like that, they'll just naturally bat toss it, like even on like a regular ground ball. I think it's just because it's so ingrained in the KBO culture and stuff like that.
They're just having fun with it.
Yeah,
But what's really cool about the World Baseball Classic is like one of the classic examples from last week is like that Czech electrician.
Who
struck out
Shohei Ohtani. Yeah.
It's like I don't know. That stuff is just very cool. I mean, that's the kind of things that make the World Baseball Classic so exciting. And and I think it's something that, like you heard, we've had people talking. I've seen interviews with like Mike Trout and other people who are talking about Edwin Diaz getting injured.
Yeah.
And it's like, Mike Trout said that's some of the most fun he's ever had on a baseball field is playing for his country. And I think that a lot of people, like these small guys from like the electrician from Czech, these guys, they're going to say the same thing,
And the thing is, Diaz got hurt, and it was off field too.
It was a celebration. It wasn't even like he was pitching.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, you're going to be playing baseball no matter what this month. You're going to be playing it in spring training.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna get more at bats in the World Baseball Classic, but it's not gonna be like this much more.
No.
I mean, honestly, it's probably good that you're facing this kind of pitching now, because you saw what happened in 2020 whenever they faced no pitching at all.
Oh, dude.
You usually see in April, that's when teams how many players go in cold spells early on?
Oh, most guys don't get hot till May or June. So.
And if you're playing, the best players in the world, I think it's actually beneficial to play in the World Baseball Classic rather than it hurting you.
I agree. Yeah. But then there's the underperformance of Dominican Republic. Everyone was hyping them up.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Eloy Healthy. He goes out there. I think he was 5 for 11 in the Baseball Classic. And it's unfortunate to see that because they were pretty hyped up coming in this year.
No, yeah. I mean, they usually every year they have the Classic. They're usually one of the better teams, especially offensively. And I remember 2017, that team was loaded. Every guy in that lineup was an all-star in some form or fashion. So
Venezuela, on the other hand, has been pretty solid though.
Yeah, they have been.
Anthony Santander has been going off.
Yeah.
You have Wilson Contreras. I mean, the teams. Yeah, there's some. I mean, it's all the Latin American countries. I just feel can beat each other. You know what I mean? And Mexico proved that against USA.
Yeah, no, I mean, USA, they had that bad game against Mexico, but, followed up by playing Canada, dude. That was a bloodbath. Yeah. And I felt bad for that pitcher. I think he was 18 years old. He's in single A in the Rangers organization, and he just got killed. And, you can't fault him. I mean, literally, like we said with Dominican Republic, the USA, you can make the argument that Kyle Schwarber is the worst player offensively on that roster, and he could still hit 50 home runs in a season. So, you're facing Trout, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, right off the bat. You're asking a lot. And, I felt for him, though. But, it's one of those things, man. So. And
you have two of the best shortstops in the league on the same team, and Trey Turner and Tim Anderson.
I didn't mention
crazy.
Bryce Harper was supposed to be on the team too before he had Tommy John. So that team would have been stacked. My only concern though is their pitching. It's a little iffy. I like Adam Wainwright though, but they don't really have any upper echelon pitchers. I would have loved to see Max Scherzer or Clayton Kershaw, one of those guys, pitch, and I think that would have really helped USA though. But I still think they can win the Classic though. But I think their starting pitching is a little concerning to me though. That's my opinion.
Yeah, even Jacob deGrom would have been cool, but he's one of those pitchers that I think everyone knew he wasn't going to pitch.
I think he's hurt anyway.
Yeah, he's always hurt.
Oh, he is.
That's why I was saying you're not gonna see him in it, which sucks because he's so good. But
we're probably gonna talk about the Rangers. I'll elaborate more on that probably.
Yeah, we'll get into the Rangers. They're definitely interesting because the thing is, Rangers and the Angels got better this year.
Yeah, no, they did. They did.
But also the Mariners got Teoscar Hernandez.
Mariners, they're gonna be there too, man. They're gonna be good again. I assume so.
Anyways, yeah, if you want to get into it, we could start with it. Talk about do you want to start with the AL East?
AL East. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Alrighty, are you guys ready to break down some of these teams?
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so the Blue Jays, you lose Teoscar Hernandez. You pick up Brandon Belt, Varsho, and Kiermaier. And you still have Vladdy Jr. You still got Bo Bichette.
Oh.
They lost Lourdes Gurriel as well. But, the team's still pretty solid, in my opinion. Still have a solid rotation. You still got Alek Manoah, Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios. That's a good, solid top three. Blue Jays, disappointing end of the season last year, but I think this year, they'll bounce back, and I think they're a playoff team this year.
No, here's what I'll say. Barrios, to me, I don't think he's I don't think he's a very good pitcher anymore. He has the potential to be great, but he's been rough. It's been rough from the past couple of years, and I'll say that though. But with that being said, the Blue Jays, they're going to be in the mix for the division title too. I think their offense, not to mention George Springer too. And then you have him, Vladdy, and Darton Varsho for the Diamondbacks. They got him in the trade. He's versatile. He can play catcher too, and he can play the outfield. So you have a guy you can plug around the field. So that's definitely a plus too. And they have their pitching's good for the most part. Their bullpen's decent. So, yeah, they're going to be in the mix. I don't know if they'll win the division, but it wouldn't surprise me. And I think I'd agree with you. I think I have them as a wild card team. I'd probably have the Blue Jays as a wild card team. I don't think it's far-fetched.
Yeah. And, what do you think of the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I think Dalton Varsho is a very sneaky pickup.
It is.
In a way. I think last year he had almost 30 he had 27 home runs last year, which is almost triple what his dad had in his whole career. So, yeah, I mean, he's young. He was 2019, right, that he came up?
Yeah, with the Diamondbacks. Yeah. It was like late 2019,
and, you had that COVID year and everything. But, yeah, I think that's a great pickup for the Blue Jays. And like you said, they have Vladdy and Bichette and Springer, who I think are always going to be solid. I think Bichette's a little underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone knows he's good, but I think he's underrated. And
still got Kevin Biggio too, as well. In that
Kevin Biggio.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty solid season last. Like he had a slow 2021, but he picked it up last year. Yeah, but Bo Bichette though, like he's arguably top 5 shortstop in the league.
I would say.
Disagree with that.
I would say.
No.
And I agree with you on Barrios. I think he's I don't know. He's one of those guys who sort of broke out and then it just sort of faded off. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't really been the same since, what was that, 2017 or 18?
With the Twins, yeah. He was really good for the Twins.
He was really good that one season. And then, I don't think he's a terrible pitcher, but I think he's ranked well in the lineup or in the rotation there.
Well, I'll just read off his stats real quick. So, his best year was 2019.
2019.
Or you can argue 2018. He was pretty much his ERA hovered around 3.7. So I mean it's not like spectacular, but that's still solid. And he was an all-star back-to-back years. But if you look at 2021, he got traded to the Blue Jays. His ERA is 3.58. And last year, which I was alluding to, he had a 5.23 ERA. Wow. So that's and he didn't have a good World Baseball Classic either. So that's a little bit concerning. But I mean, at the same time, I could be proven totally wrong, and he got here and have a solid year. So I hope I'm wrong. I really do.
Here's the thing: his slider. Okay, so Alek Manoah on the same team, by the way, best slider in baseball. Jose Barrios, though, has a nasty slider. It's crazy that his ERA is over 5. If you ever just watch him pitch and watch some of his stuff, I don't know, maybe just too many mistake pitches. Like,
I don't know. Like he's only let me see that. He's only 28, so he can still turn it around. It's not the end of the world.
His best season was when he was 25.
Yeah.
So,
but you got to remember when you look at someone switching from team to team like that, it's something that is sort of untalked about is what the team has envisioned for that pitcher, right? So there'll be teams who get a pitcher and they want them to be someone that they're not. You know what I mean? It's a classic.
Chris Archer.
It's a classic Chris Archer story.
Yeah.
It's the most basic example is that they wanted him to come in and not pitch the way that he had always pitched. They wanted him to be somebody different, and clearly it didn't work.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mention that.
Jake Arrieta, too. I just want to mention.
No, yeah.
Orioles, the Cubs.
No, yeah. No, a perfect example, you alluded to the Pirates, Charlie Morton and Garrett Cole, because if you remember Charlie Morton, like when he first came up, he was like all over the place. He would have like a great game, and then he'd give up like 7 runs next game. And Garrett Cole, he had that one great year in 2015, but after that, it was just like he was kind of all over the place too. He was still good, but I don't think he obviously didn't reach his full potential. And then once you see Charlie Morton, after a couple stints elsewhere, end up in Houston, I mean, he just became like a top 5 pitcher. And it was like they didn't pitch to his strengths. He was a power pitcher, and Cole was a power pitcher. And I know there's risk in having power pitchers. You know, you don't want to wear out their arm, but at the same time, you know, you look at Cole, his strikeouts literally like doubled when he left the Pirates. He's striking out 300 guys every year. And you see Charlie Morton like in the running for Cy Young, and you know that's a factor. Like it's just the Pirates, Ray Searage at the time, they were pitch to contact and right. get guys out that way. And they unfortunately I think they mismanaged Morton and Cole and didn't get as much out of them as they probably should have. That's just my opinion.
The other factor there is that they both turned it around on the Astros.
No, that's
right. The Astros, they just have this thing where they can put someone on the mound and turn them into a good pitcher.
No,
I'm not really sure what it is, but it works, and it's actually really amazing to see. You know, if someone, especially like Charlie Morton, that was a really cool turnaround.
Yeah, and then even this year, like look at their rotation. If you'd have told someone like 2 years ago, hey, Urquidy, Framber Valdez, McCullers, you're not going to have Verlander or Garrett Cole, but this is going to be the best one of the best rotations in baseball. You're going to look at them like they're crazy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see Urquidy, solid year, Cy Young candidate, Framber Valdez, solid year. Even Luis Garcia, the guy with one of the craziest windups I've ever seen in my life. He even had a good year last year too. I mean, and Christian Javier helped with a combined no-hitter too as well. So, I mean...
Well,
and they hit the Yankees.
I was about to say, even going there, Justin Verlander, I mean, when you remember, when he left Detroit, he was kind of like starting to tail off. And he was still a good pitcher, but he wasn't as dominant as he was like early on in his career when he won MVP. And, as soon as he goes to Houston, it's like he's back in his prime. Like he was last year, too. I mean, he won the Cy Young this past year, right? I think he did.
Who did?
Verlander,
yeah, he did.
So like
he was like ran away with it.
He had one of his best years at like almost 40 years old, and I just think that's so wild. The Astros, they're like, it's just amazing to me because I remember they used to be a laughing stock like 10 years ago.
When they were in our division?
Oh, they were a joke.
The gray uniform?
Yeah. They were a joke. And then I just remember
Carlos the lead.
I remember reading that Sports Illustrated article, the Astros 2017 World. I was like, get the hell out of here. And then they won the World Series. And then another World Series later, here we go. And they're well positioned to compete for another one this year. Like it's amazing how they're able to churn up talent and turn guys' careers around. They just know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They pretty much probably are the best run organization probably in baseball right now, besides the Dodgers, in my opinion.
Well, I could keep getting into them. Like even if you look at Michael Brantley. Well, let's go to the Astros now. Look at Michael Brantley. A lot of injuries at the tail end of his Cleveland Indians career, and all of a sudden goes to the Astros, comes an All-Star in 2019. It's just like it's little things like that they turn these players around, and now they have Jose Abreu this year. You replace Trey Mancini with Jose Abreu. And it's just little things like that. Chas McCormick was another one. Big year last year. I mean, he had like 20-something home runs and stuff. And like, I don't know. It may have been a little less, a little over. But he had a really good year. It was hovering around that range. Back of the bullpen, Ryan Stanek, Ryan Presley. I mean, Ryan Presley had the most consecutive saves in a row in like MLB history a couple years ago. So, I mean, this team's a really solid team again this year.
Well, how about we finish the AL East and then we can get
well, let's do it.
But, I mean, just like I do have Houston winning the division though again this year.
Well, I'll just say that now. Yeah, Houston's winning that. Mariners got better. Same with the Angels, but the Astros they're almost unbeatable right now.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, we talked about the Blue Jays though, and I have them in the mix though, but I'd probably have to pick the Yankees to win the division still. That's probably who I'd go.
Yeah, I mean, you picked up Carlos Rodon now. Their rotation got better. Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez. They have a solid rotation. I just think that, yes, they're definitely going to win the division because, you got Aaron Judge. You got DJ LeMahieu. You got Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza. I mean, you got those two players going to be studs in the league. So, I mean, you got some talent coming up. Harrison Bader was a good pickup at the tail end of last year. Mm-hmm. Their rotation's pretty solid.
Harrison Bader is one of the best. He's the best defensive center fielder in baseball.
He's so quick, too.
The best defensive center fielder. He can't hit. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like Harrison Bader.
You know what? At the tail end of last year, he started hitting good though.
When he would come
in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's not a terrible bat, but listen, when he would come to PNC Park with the Cardinals, it was unbelievable to watch this guy make some. You remember back in 2012 to 14 when Kevin Pillar was just all over the place with the Jays, making those insane
the diving catches and
that was like Harrison Bader was just he was just getting every single ball that was hit out there. It was unbelievable. The dude is quick. The dude's got a great glove. I think he's one of the best defensive center fielders, if not the best in baseball.
They're comparable. By the way, you speaking of Kevin Pillar,
yeah,
because they both have sneaky pop. I think sometimes I know Bader, his years for the Cardinals, he wasn't the best hitter, but last year, he had a solid season with the bat, and in the playoffs, I think he had six home runs. I think he absolutely went off in the playoffs. But yeah, the team isn't sneaky good because you have players like Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu. LeMahieu has won a couple batting titles now, and then like I said, you got the two young guns. Gleyber Torres had a good comeback year last year. It wasn't anything like his rookie year, but it was a lot better than his 2021 season. So, yeah, that's my opinion on the Yankees.
I really want to call the Blue Jays to win the division. Their rotation, I think the Yankees are more well-rounded in terms of pitching and hitting and defense. If the Blue Jays had a little more solid rotation, I would call them to win it all the way. And I still think there's a chance. I think it'll actually be close. I think it'll be close. Yeah. I think the problem with the Yankees is that they had a win-now mindset for 10 years, and they didn't win. And they shipped off all of their farm system all over the place, and now they're kind of stuck. And I think they did it to themselves. But when it comes down to it, the Yankees are the Yankees. They're always going to be a solid organization no matter what.
You just mentioned that even in their lean years, before Judge came up, they were still winning 83, 84 games. So it's not like it was all grim in New York though. But I will say this. I think Toronto's offense, top to bottom, is a little bit better than the Yankees because I think the Yankees are Aaron Judge reliant at times. But when Giancarlo Stanton's right and he's not hurt and he's healthy, I know the batting average isn't what it used to be for Stanton, but that's he's still a great home run hitter. And if LeMahieu can get a little bit more consistent, Gleyber Torres can build upon what he did last year. They're still going to be a solid offensive team. That's the pitching's good. It's never really been much of an issue here in recent memory. So, yeah, I just think the Yankees their track record, it just has division champs. That's my opinion. But like I said earlier, though, I wouldn't be surprised if Toronto somehow found a way to win it.
I think they could. I just think it's definitely the 1 and 2 in this division.
Right.
We could talk about the Orioles next and then the Red Sox, but the Yankees, they're just Aaron Judge. You saw last year, he's going to have another good year again. As long as they stay healthy, that rotation to me is very comparable. You got Garrett Cole, Severino, pick up Carlos Rodon, a really solid lefty. They needed a lefty pitcher, so still a good team. I think the Blue Jays, what's going to hurt them, we mentioned Dalton Varsho. Great player, but Teoscar Hernandez, the dude's a borderline all-star, maybe an all-star almost every year. That's gonna hurt. He was a cleanup 3-hitter last year with right around where Vladdy is. It was always them going back to back and stuff. So losing Teoscar is gonna hurt. Varsho is a really good solid pickup. I think Varsho is gonna be really good for them, but I think losing Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel, I think that's gonna in April, I think there might be a little bit of early woes for the Blue Jays because losing a player that's literally a centerpiece of the team. Because we could talk about Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but if you look at Teoscar Hernandez's numbers since 2019, he's been one of the most consistent outfielders in baseball. So that's gonna hurt. But yeah,
where'd he go?
He went to Seattle. Yeah, because they were trying to extend Teoscar Hernandez. And they really couldn't get anything done, so they kind of just offed him instead.
Yeah, honestly, if they're probably looking at, we're probably going to sign Vladdy and then probably Bo Bichette because that's really their two guys they probably want to have for the next 10 years. Like, because if you think about it, like, there's only so much money you could like give out to players, and I think as good as Hernandez is, I don't think he's quite at the level
of Tatis and I'm not Tatis
of Vlad or Bichette. Like those are the two cornerstone guys you want to have for life.
Yeah, but I think it's important to take in the longevity of Vladdy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's been compared to Prince Fielder. How, amazing player, but he didn't have the longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And people have said that about Vladdy. Is he going to be a 20-year player, or is he going to be a 10 to 12-year player?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I don't know. To me, like last year, no, it was 2021. Like Vladdy went off. He was like spectacular, but last year he kind of dipped, and he was still great, but his year wasn't as good. So I think this year, like, hopefully the uptick in production goes back up, though. But I even if he only plays 10 or 12 years, that's still a long time. Like I understand, like he's not 20 years is that's 20 years, but 10 years, that's still like I think you can still get enough out of him. And my question is like whether or not he'll still be at a first baseman in like 5 or 6 years. I do think he'll eventually become a DH just because the way he's built. I just don't see him like playing. I know he played third too when he came up in first, but I just don't see him playing defense very much longer. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, unless you make I've seen transitions where people make moves with their body and stuff. I think Vladdy could be one of those players that does that. And plus, we mentioned last year he didn't have the 2021 season he had. But the 2021 season he had was an anomaly, especially with the league average, going down for batting average. I mean, he batted over 300, had 45 home runs. I mean, even last year, he still hit over 30 home runs, batted 274. Yeah. So, I mean, still a really solid player and stuff. He's gonna do that. Yeah. He's gonna do that every single year.
He would have won MVP if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist in 2021. So.
Oh, I know. Shohei had like the craziest season literally since Babe Ruth. So.
No, it's that's is what it is though. But I mean, I guess you can probably move on to the next team.
Yeah, so I think we could talk about who's taking home third. So the O's get Kyle Gibson, 2021 All-Star for the Texas Rangers. Was a Cy Young candidate at a point. Was not really good last year. They pick up him. You have John Means, Cole Irvin. And Grayson Rodriguez, young player, one of their top prospects, going to be a good pitcher. So their rotation, they at least attacked one of their weak points, which was that. They really didn't add too much in the field. I mean, you added Adam Frazier. Gunnar Henderson's coming up. He had some good at-bats at the tail end of last year. I think Adley Rutschman's going to have a breakout year. You saw at the tail end of the year, he really started to heat up. He's going to have a really, really good year. And then Ramon Urias, Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle. Mm-hmm. Team's solid. I think they're better than with Tampa losing players like G-Man Choi and Kevin Kiermaier, a lot of the mainstream players. I think that they could finish. I think they're going to finish ahead of Tampa. Boston, on the other hand, I mean, if you look at Boston, they lose Xander Bogaerts, but they get Justin Turner, Adalberto Mondesi, Adam Duvall. The question is the rotation, because you have James Paxton, the big maple, but he's hurt constantly. You have Chris Sale, hurt constantly. Corey Kluber, Whitlock, Brian Bello is going to be a good pitcher. I mean, you pick up Kenley Jansen in the pen, but I don't know if this team I don't know if this is the same Red Sox teams we've been seeing.
It's funny you mention that. So I think all three of these teams can be 3 to 5, finish 3 to 5. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but right now I'd probably take the Rays third. I'd probably do the Orioles fourth. I'd do the Red Sox fifth. Right. And I think the Rays, they've still found a way to be competitive. Their team's kind of been stripped of talent here the past couple of years, and they're not as dominant, obviously. And they've had some setbacks for Tyler Glasnow and Shane Baz too. So that's not ideal. That's your future pretty much, or what's left of it. And but they still always have a good pitching rotation. Offense, it's passable for Major League offense. So they're going to be competitive. I think they'll be around 500. I don't think they'll make the playoffs this year though. Yeah. But the Orioles, to me, you mentioned all their young guys. They're going to have Gunnar Henderson third baseman of the future, hopefully. Rodriguez, the starting pitcher. And they have guys in the farm system, too, just beyond those guys. So I think I wouldn't be surprised they took a step back this year, but I don't think they're going to lose 100 games again. I don't think that, but maybe win 75, maybe hover around that range. But, the Orioles, they're set up, man.
They almost made the playoffs last.
They did. I think what's more key than anything for the Orioles, it's not so much making the playoffs, but it's just having guys develop, like Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, like those kind of guys. If they can play well, then you can kind of look into next year and kind of start thinking about playoffs potentially, maybe spend some more money in the offseason. The Red Sox, I have no idea what they're doing. They traded away Mookie Betts. They let Bogarts go too. Like, those are guys I would have kept and like built around long term, but that's just my opinion. And I know they signed Devers to a huge contract extension, but they're just weird to me. They used to always be a team that spent a lot of money, and I feel like they've gotten on the cheap side here the past 5 or 6 years. And I know they just signed Devers, but like, my point is, like, I don't know. It's just Justin Turner. Like, he's still kind of solid, but he's old now, and they just have a lot of question marks. I think that's the biggest issue with Boston, and like, outside of a couple guys, like, Devers is gonna produce, but I mean, they're not a playoff team to me, and maybe
no.
I just don't, like you mentioned it.
Adalberto Mondesi, the comeback year. I'm calling it.
He barely even plays as it is anyway, so that's what I'm saying. There's just. If all those guys stay healthy, yeah, sure, maybe they can compete for a wild card. But, I mean, I'm not banking on it. And honestly, I'd probably have them as my last place team.
I would agree. I think if you sign Devers, you sign Bogarts too.
Oh, my God.
I think that was a mistake. Bogarts is one of the best shortstops in the league. I think he's better than Tatis.
Yeah, more consistent.
He's consistent. Bogarts has been consistently consistent since 2014.
Well, remember we were comparing him to Derek Jeter? We looked at the defensive wars. They're the same point of their career. Bogarts has a higher defensive WAR. And if you look at their stats, Bogarts has more home runs than RBIs, but Jeter has them in like OPS, average, stuff like that. So if you could compare someone to Derek Jeter, I mean, that's you need to lose that player.
Yeah, I mean, Bogarts is absolutely, undoubtedly on a Hall of Fame track right now.
Yes.
Undoubtedly. And, I think if you sign Devers, you have to sign Bogarts. You got to keep them both. I don't think Justin Turner's a good replacement. No. I mean, he
tailed off last year.
Yeah, he might come in and hit some bombs, but it's not going to be, he's not comparable to JD Martinez either.
Mm-hmm. No.
So, yeah, the Red Sox I think they're going to be in last place.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really have much to say about it.
I think karma is coming back for Alex Cora.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just don't. Maybe they can be 500, but I see them probably in the 70 to 75 game win range, honestly.
I think, like, you said it earlier, 3 through 5, it could be interchangeable. But I'm going to put Baltimore in that 3.
Okay. I don't.
That's fair. That's
no,
fair.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
I just feel like the Tampa Bay Rays this year. So we always say, it's always me too. I always say, the Rays, they didn't add anyone this year. It's going to be, I think this year, now that they lost some players and stuff, I think it's finally the year where the Rays, like, especially with the injury issues in the rotation. I mean, here's the thing. If McClanahan can have the same year he did last year, if Yonny Chirinos can keep pitching the way he pitches too, you know what? Yeah, maybe they could get the 3. But I just think right now, if you look at their lineup, I mean, you got Manuel Margot, Wander Franco, Brandon Lau. I mean, they're still a solid team. I'll give them that. But I'm gonna go Baltimore. I'm gonna say the young talent comes through this year. I'll go them 3, Tampa 4, Boston 5. But I think you can interchange I think if everything goes right for Boston, they could very easily be 4, maybe 3. Yeah. But everything has to go right. Everyone has to be healthy. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I would just say with Tampa Bay, I think they're eventually going to bottom out. Like, I do see them eventually losing like 90 or 100 games. Maybe not this year, but maybe in a year or two. And they're going to be good again because they're what the Pirates should be. Like, they don't spend money, but they know how to develop talent, and they get the best out of what they have. And I mean, to them, I know they made the World Series 2020, and they had a good year in 2021. But I mean, last year was pretty evident. Like, they were not as good, and I expect them to be even worse this year. So, and it wouldn't be surprising me either if they had a terrible year this year, But I just think their pitching has always been solid, so they're going to be competitive.
And now it's time to go to the AL Central. I just want to get 2 teams out of the way real quick. Kansas City Royals and Detroit Tigers. So the Royals, I mean, MJ Melendez, Bobby Witt Jr., they're going to be studs in the league. Let's get real. Bobby Witt Jr. had a good year. I think he's on Team USA this year too. So, yeah, two great players there. Everything else sucks. I mean,
Greinke Greinke is the best specialty pitcher that we've seen in quite a while. I mean, Greinke. I love Zach Greinke. I think he, I don't know. He's one of those specialty pitchers, and he just seems to get it done.
Yeah, he's still solid.
He's still got life left in him.
Yeah, I basically look at this division. It's just Cleveland and everyone else at this point. I guess the White Sox can be good. I mean, they kind of regressed last year. The Twins, to me, they're like a 500 team. Like, I just don't see them being a serious threat to do any damage in the playoffs potentially. Yeah, it's to me like, and then Kansas City, like they're like not even close to being a competitive team, and they're like 6 years into a rebuild. Like, come on.
And then the Tigers too.
The Tigers, they like their whole rebuild thing has gone completely south too. So honestly, Cleveland, as long as they don't do anything stupid, they're gonna, I think, rule that division for the foreseeable future. Honestly.
Plus, they picked up Josh Bell now.
Yeah.
So you pick up Josh Bell and you replace Austin Hedges with Mike Zunino. If Zunino can be the Zunino from 2021, this is huge. Right now, that catcher position is a little weak right now, but you pick up Josh Bell. You still have Naylor. You still have Andres Jimenez. I mean, the team just has people that can rake on their team, and not to mention their rotation. I mean, they have that same core of rotation that they had since after the lockout year. Tristan McKenzie. We were saying it on the podcast last year. What an improvement we saw at him last year.
Yeah, he was solid.
Shane Bieber. Aaron Savali had a rough year last year. But at the tail end, he started pitching a little bit better. I think he's still going to be a good pitcher. You still have Zach Plesac. I think I'm missing one more guy. But, I mean, their rotation's pretty... Cal Quantrill. He's also playing the World Baseball Classic. Not for Team USA, though. I believe it's for Team Israel. So, it's Israel or Canada. I think it's Canada, actually. But, yeah, Cal Quantrill's there, too. That's a good rotation. Good bullpen with Clase, Karen Shack back there. Yeah, I think this team takes the division. I think the White Sox, if they could be healthy, I mean, you have Mike Clevenger now and stuff, so as a pitcher. If Eloy can be healthy, if Luis Robert can be healthy, Tim Anderson, even he has some injury issues. That's their problem is injuries. But, yeah, if they could be healthy, I could see them being second or third in the division. I think the Twins are right there, too. But, yeah, Tigers, I think Tigers will be fifth in this division, just my opinion. I'm going to go rank it backwards real quick just to get them over with. Tigers 5, Royals 4. Casey Mize, he had Tommy John surgery last year. They don't even know if he's going to pitch in a Tigers uniform right now. So it's upsetting to see that. Yeah, but the Tigers, I mean, San Javier Baez.
Overrated.
And another thing, too, is they completely rushed Bensel Torkelson. Me as a Pirates fan, I know what it's like to keep a player in the minors too long. I mean, they called up Torkelson, and he was 21 years old, was not ready yet to play.
Here's what I'll say about the Tigers. So, you about to say something? Okay, cool. I didn't want to interrupt you, but here's what I'll say about the Tigers. So I think it was 2019. They had a pretty decent year. I think they were around 500. And that was around the time people thought, hey, well, the Tigers, they might finally get back to the mix in the division. And then I remember 2020 happened, and then you mentioned Mize got hurt. Then they had a couple guys get hurt, and then they signed Javier Baez. They got Austin Meadows. They were trying to actually compete, and then, like you said, they called up Torkelson, Riley Green, the outfielder. I think they called him up too, and they just were terrible. And, now the rebuild is just looking like, well, what the heck are we doing now? It's just now they're in a position now, they messed up their window to compete, I think. And now I think they kind of have to go back to square one a little bit, if that makes any sense. And I just don't see I just don't see any viable way they're going to be competitive this year. I just don't. And Javier Baez, that contract's going to be horrendous because he was never a great hitter. He just had power and made the occasional great defensive play. And now you're stuck with this contract. Good luck. And then Kansas City. I don't know what they're doing. I do know what they're doing. They're just not doing it well enough. You blow up the team after 2017. We're in 2023 now, and you're not even hovering around 500. Every year you're pretty much bookmarked for 95 losses. So listen, you have Bobby Witt. He's great. I think he's gonna be a great player, but he's gonna be gone in 4 years probably.
We're forgetting something too.
What am I forgetting?
So first things first, the Tigers you're talking about, it was 2021 they were good.
Okay.
They were like, hey, we're going to go hog wild.
I got my...
It's okay, though. And my point, though, that wasn't my point. I was going to say, these teams now, they don't play these AL Central Division teams 20 times a year. They're playing the schedule changed.
Yeah.
So now they have to play everyone.
Yeah, they're screwed.
So, the Royals and Tigers,
they're screwed.
It's going to be bad.
It's going to be ugly.
And I remember one year I said the A's were going to be terrible. They ended up being great. I don't think it's going to be the case for these two teams.
No. I can tell you right now, I think the three worst teams, Detroit, the A's, and probably the Royals, they have a strong case to be the three worst teams in baseball this year. I really do think that. And I understand, the Royals, I just don't see a vision there or any scenario where they can be good in a year or two. I just don't. And this is the problem with small market rebuilds. If you're not hitting on your prospects and you're not making smart decisions, you're stuck. And it just feels like that World Series run they were on, just a lot of things came together at the right time. Not so much more so they were doing everything right. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is the worst division in baseball.
I
think the Guardians and the White Sox are going to be at the top of this division. The Twins, they had a window back right before COVID, those few years. They had a window. They had a window and they missed it, and that was unfortunate to see because they were looking like a fun team. I don't know. They brought on Joey Gallo. They think that because they banned the shift, he's all of a sudden going to get his contact back, which isn't going to happen. Yeah, it's just a rough division. I mean, Bell is underrated because he started with the Pirates, so people don't really have him on the radar. Josh Bell is an absolutely amazing hitter. Mm-hmm. Absolutely
Proved
mashes the ball. Absolutely hit it out of the park in spring training. I mean, the fields aren't that big, but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to rank the division, just to get this division out of the way, I'd go Guardians 1. And I'm going to go out on the limb and say everything goes right for the Twins with the rotation stuff, picking up Pablo Lopez, having Tyler Mahle and Sonny Gray. I think that's a good solid 3 there. Mm. So I'm going to go with them 2. But I think if Chicago's fully healthy, they'll be 2. Yeah. I'm just not banking on it. So I'll go Chicago 3. And then 4, I'd go with the Royals, and 5, the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really touch upon Chicago. They're not devoid of talent. It's just like you said, if this guy stays healthy, that's just too many ifs for me to take them seriously. And the Twins, I know they got back Carlos Correa. That's a whole interesting story. It's a different podcast probably, but they're going to be competitive. They're not going to be terrible, but I can see those teams flip flopping 2 or 3. Interchangeable, like you said. I can also see them competing for a last wild card spot. I think they're not that bad, but I just still think the Guardians, they're pretty much returning everyone from last year, and then you add Josh Bell too. They're going to be the best team in the division to me, bar none, in my opinion.
For the Twins, though, 3 names to remember: Nick Gordon had a solid tail end of last year, Jose Miranda, and hopefully everything goes right with him because he tore his ACL last year. He's supposed to have a full season this year. Royce Lewis.
Okay.
Number 1 overall pick back in 2018, I believe.
Well, if you remember, Nick Gordon was a highly touted prospect too, and it took him a long time to get up and finally get acclimated. So they have talent. That's not an issue. It's just
and Buxton. Hopefully he could stay fully healthy.
He's not going to stay healthy. He's if he's played 8 years now, and he has not even played. I don't think he's even played close to. I think he played 1 year. He played 140 games, but he has not come to close to even a full season.
When he plays, man, he's something to watch. Buxton?
Yeah,
when he plays.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We talked about Tony's dad talks about potential all the time. If Byron Buxton realized his full potential, he would be the best player in baseball. He has that tool. He has that tool set. He can hit. Great defensively too. So
Time for the AL West. Let's get them over with. Last place
Astros.
team is the A's.
A's, oh
and
my
first
God.
place team's the
Astros, yeah.
The A's, they pick up Shintaro Fujinami, which is cool. Pick up Jesus Aguilar. Shea Langoliers, going to be a good catcher. Was good for their minor league team.
Yeah.
They're now, I think, Las Vegas Aviators. I think that's
I thought
what it is. They
it might
switched affiliates.
Okay.
But, yeah, he was good for them. But that's not going to do it.
Ramon Liriano, they took a big hit there with the PEDs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretty solid. He was looking
defensively, he's
looking
really good.
pretty solid. Took a hit there. The A's aren't going to be in Oakland for a lot longer.
Yeah.
There's just
yeah,
no way.
there's-
The stadium is horrendous. The team is horrendous.
And they
Everything
can't get a
about the A's.
deal with the, and they're only taking in a 9. They were dead last by even less than the Rays, 9,000.
Oh,
fans
they
per
can't
game.
even get 10,000 people, dude.
And they have the
It's bad.
biggest stadium.
It's bad. But, I mean, I will say this. I'm not going to crap on them, too. They have a good farm system, but, like, those guys are, like, 3 or 4 years out. So it's going to be a long time before the A's are even, like, sniffing, like, 500 baseball, in my opinion. So, but, I mean, that's just all I have to say about them. They're just not a very good team. Like, they stripped their team bare down of talent as much as you can possibly can. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but we had talked about the Astros being our 1.
Yeah.
My number 2, after picking up Colton Wong, Teoscar Hernandez, A.J. Pollock, Jared Kelenic, heck of a spring training, man. Had a good tail end of last year. He was awful to start the year last year, but he was, good spring training, like the at-bats. Julio Rodriguez, J.P. Suarez, great rotation, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Robbie Ray. I mean, Logan Gilbert had a solid year. Luis Castillo. I think that this team is second place in this division. And then, the Mariners, I think, are clear-cut second. You still have Suarez and J.P. Crawford, too. I mean, they got a lot of depth. Ty France. Even at the catcher position, you have Cal Raleigh and Tom Murphy. You can't go wrong with either one of those catchers, but Cal Raleigh has wicked pop on his bat. I'm definitely going to – always gives him good at-bats, too. Dylan Moore, you could pull off the bench. Yeah, I think they're 2. Angels and Rangers got better, though, but I still think the Mariners are the second-best team in this division.
I think do we think that the Angels are going to start taking things a little more seriously?
I think they always have. I just think they're
I don't think they have.
okay. See, here's why I think they have.
10 years with Mike Trout.
I understand.
If they were going to take it seriously, it would have been in 2013.
No, I understand that, but
And
I'll
then
say,
Mark Trumbo, where's the
yeah,
Trumbo? that
yeah,
year?
Trumbo.
but they've made moves. It's not
Trumbo
like
was the same year as
Yeah.
Trout. They were
Yeah.
both 2011.
they've signed guys. It's not like they're like doing nothing. It's just the guys they invest in are terrible, and like they're
That's
just
true. They
investing in
did.
the
You know
wrong-
what? That's true.
Like,
They got Anthony Rendon.
Rendon. That was
and-
I can't believe that. I was shocked when they did that. And he has not played a full year for them. He hasn't even been like remotely close to the Nationals. Rendon. So that's a terrible move. And like it's just guys. Really, their issue it's their rotation. Like
It's always been.
and like
Always.
it's like outside of Shohei Ohtani, like who can you count on to give you like consistent innings? Like
You know what?
that's my concern.
I'm going to go out on the limb, though. I think this year they'll be the third best team in this division.
I mean that's not.
And I think
far-fetched.
they'll be like a wild card range. Because I'm really high on Sandoval. He pitched for
Okay.
Mexico in the World Baseball Classic. I'm really huge on him.
I know
Reed Detmers,
They
too.
signed Tyler Anderson.
And
too.
Tyler Anderson, and they have Shohei Ohtani who pitches too.
I mean, we'll see.
And then you also get Hunter Renfroe, and they did something that, and Brandon Drury too,
Yeah.
one of the comeback players of the year last year. But they did something last year. It was very minor. I liked it though. It actually was something that they did that could help their team. Like they just didn't throw a lot of money at someone. When they traded Brandon Marsh, they got the number 1 overall pick from 2016, Mickey Moniak. So my opinion is, yes, I mean, I know he hasn't panned out yet, but I mean, if you're the number 1 overall pick, you clearly have potential. Let's just say he ends up doing really good. I mean, that's going to end up being like a really good-looking trade. And I think Mickey Moniak, after watching some of his at-bats last year at the tail end of last year, could be a very good player. So, yeah, I'd take them 3, and then the Rangers 4th because, you know, Corey Seager, awesome year last year, hit almost 30 home runs. Josh Jung, someone to look out for, really good player. Adolis Garcia, obviously they bolstered their rotation getting DeGrom and Heaney, but the back end of the what's that?
Did they?
A little bit, yeah. But here's the thing: it's if he pitches and stuff.
DeGrom contract. absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
What a terrible contract.
we'll
You
see.
cannot pay that much for a guy who's probably not going to pitch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. I know he's, like, when he pitches, he's one of the best. I don't know if I can really say he is the best pitcher in baseball anymore. He's going to be one of top 3 when
Up
he
until
pitches.
2021, you could.
Yeah.
This year, you can't.
But you know what? It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not a healthy guy. I mean, when you have season after season for 5 years now, where he's just not healthy, it's not going to come back.
Mhm.
He's just not a healthy guy. It's not going to happen, and it's very unfortunate, but that's a bad contract. And
Yeah.
the Mets absolutely biggest brain move that we've ever seen was, okay, we're going to let him walk, and who are we going to replace him with?
Justin
Verlander.
Justin Verlander, the best pitcher maybe ever.
I mean, he's insane.
Maybe
I mean,
ever.
He has a case.
He has a case to be the best pitcher ever. If Nolan Ryan didn't have a 50,000 year career, right, I would say Verlander's the best pitcher ever.
I would certainly. He's probably the best pitcher this past 15 years. I'd probably give you
Yeah.
that.
I mean, he won an MVP and multiple Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
And last year,
Yeah.
at the age of 38, 37, 38.
He's around there.
I mean-
I think he's 40.
He's 40. Hey, I think he is 40. I think Scherzer's that age, and
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
I
40.
think Verlander is 40.
Verlander took 2021 off.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to rush my injury, he took 20 and 21 off, got his stuff together. He's like, I'm still this guy.
Yeah.
And he went out there and had a sub-2 ERA.
He said, actually,
Took-
I'm better than that guy.
He's better than that guy. We could talk. Let's talk about the Mets next, but I do want to just say, so you guys got, who do you guys got for the division? I got Astros, Mariners, Angels, Rangers, A's.
Yeah, so I would say Astros, Mariners. I think you can flip-flop the Angels or Rangers, just depending on health and circumstance. And
Agreed.
yeah, the A's, they're rebuilding, so that's pretty much it. Here's what I'll say about Jacob deGrom real quick, though. Obviously, they paid him a lot of money, so you're not going to do this, but I feel like he hasn't really pitched a lot, and he can't stay healthy. And a guy that is a power pitcher, he throws that hard. I feel like he'd be better suited as a closer. Like, I think he'd play a little bit longer too.
That's interesting.
And I think they're not going to obviously do it because they paid him a crap ton of money to be a starter. But like hypothetically, like, when you think about it, John Smoltz, he was starting to tail off there. I think he got hurt or something. He had a terrible year. They moved him to a closer. He was like an elite closer. And I feel like if you have Jacob deGrom, imagine you're in the ninth inning and you have to face deGrom. I think he'd be really good. Like, I really do. And I think it would extend his career maybe 3 or 4 more years, too. But like I said, they're obviously not going to do it because they paid him too much money.
Right.
But, I just something to think about. I don't know. We'll see.
And I will say something, too. I mean, someone on the Angels, same division, Ian Kennedy. Used
Yeah.
to be a Cy Young guy.
Wow,
He's
that's
now
bad.
made his career as a closing pitcher.
Yeah, no.
He's been a closer for the past 4 or 5 years now.
No.
Not the best closer, but he has the stuff to be a closer.
Yeah.
Another one, Wade Davis. Ended up being one of the best closers in baseball for a couple seasons, for a couple years, and he completely tailed off. But still, good closer for the Cubs. I mean, and
Yeah, Royals there for
too.
a hot minute. Yeah. No, they're solid. No, but that's just something I just want to think about when I threw that out there, though. I mean,
And
do we
don't
do
forget about Matt Capps. He was never a starter, but
Matt
what
Capps.
a closer.
Oh, gosh.
Twins legend Matt Capps.
Twins hero.
One last thing on the Angels, Taylor Ward, always going to be overshadowed, but he's going to have a breakout year.
Oh, yeah, he was great last year, too.
This is
Yeah.
going to be his year where he's going to be up there. It's going to be the Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, and Taylor Ward show.
And hopefully Rendon's healthy, too.
If he can stay healthy, I think they can challenge for a wild card spot. But the thing is, he doesn't stay healthy.
Yeah, Rendon has that. He has that natural pop. He looks very effortless when he
It's his
swings.
bat speed.
Yeah,
His
he
bat
looks
speed's insane,
effortless,
and
but
his
he gets that
his
thing.
hips
He gets
get
that
through.
thing around quick. But I mean, yeah.
His hips get through it quick, too. Like, you can tell when he first started with the Nationals, before he grew out the beard and the hair and stuff, like, his bat speed was just quick. And then he ended up having where he was third in MVP voting. So, yeah. Speaking of the Nationals, definitely want to talk about them for a little bit.
You might as well go to the NL East now.
Yeah, we could do that.
I have them winning the division, by the way, the Nationals.
Yeah, I mean, C.J. Abrams, Manassas, yeah, they're going to be the stars of the show here. But they're looking, yeah, they're looking really rough this year.
Oh, God.
Mackenzie Gore going to have a great year. I feel it. He's going to be a good pitcher. But other than that, if you look at some of the moves the Marlins made, like even the Marlins, I mean, look at they've picked up Luis Arias. You picked up Gene Segura. I mean, you still have Jazz Chisholm. I mean, you got some solid pickups on this team. And on top of that, Luzardo, Alcantara, Cueto is your top three. I mean, they're fourth in this division, but I think if they were in like the AL Central, they'd at least be like third or second.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's all nice, but they're not they're like at best the fourth best team in that division.
So yeah, I said them. So it's four. I think they're gonna be 4, and then Nationals 5. But
yeah,
we can talk about the Mets though.
Yeah, we can. Just the Nationals, they're like kind of in the same position as the A's. They're just starting rebuild, so they're looking at 100 losses this year. And then the Marlins, they're probably going to be like a 70-75 win team as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, they're just not compared to Philly, Atlanta, in New York. They're just not in the same category right now. So I mean, pretty much that, honestly. But I mean, as far as like division winners, I have to go with the Mets. I'm going with the Mets. You're shaking your head. I'm not going with the Mets.
I can't do it, man.
I'm going to go with
I can't do it. I can never
Mets.
put the Mets first.
Who do you have?
The Braves. It's got to be.
The Braves?
It's got to be the
They
Braves.
could, yeah.
The Mets. You know what? They're going to be close, but they just. Honestly, the Braves underperform as well. I mean, the Braves should be winning closer to 100 games.
Mm-hmm.
And so should the Mets, but I don't know what it is. I think this is one of the best divisions in baseball.
I think it's the best.
I think it's probably the best division in baseball. But you know what? The Mets they got Vogelback, who one of the worst decisions by the Pirates in recent years is to get rid of him. They should have signed him to a 2-3 year deal, in my opinion.
Are you being serious?
I'm being so serious. Vogelback?
Yeah.
I'm being dead serious.
Okay.
Man. I think the
he
Pirates
dropped some weight too.
The Pirates should have signed Vogelback to a 2 or 3 year deal.
Okay. All right.
I do. I mean, he's gonna if you let him play, he's gonna give you 25 home runs.
No, he has power.
I mean, he's a lefty. He's a big lefty in PNC Park. I mean, that's what you want, in my opinion.
No, that's fair. I'll give you that.
It's like, okay, so they go out and get
Carlos Santana and G-Man.
Yeah, and it's like you just keep Vogie. He's better than G-Man. I think so.
I'd give him that. I think Carlos Santana though was a good pickup this year.
I think absolutely.
But yeah, talking about the Mets though, you have the Braves, but I think the Mets, because I mean you have Scherzer and Verlander.
Actually, you're right. I take it back.
And then there's Jose Quintana, and you have Carlos Carrasco too.
Yeah, that's your 4.
And then coming up as a catcher, Francisco Alvarez is going to be a stud. But on top of that, we're not talking about it. Kodai Senga.
They signed him.
They signed Kodai Senga. And on top of that, you still have the same lineup as last year. They're keeping their core intact. Alonso, Marte, Lindor. I mean, and you pick up Tommy Pham too. I think that this team got some potential. Got Mark Canha still. He still got Jeff McNeil, an all-star from last year.
Brandon Nimmo too.
Yeah, Pete Alon, Polar Bear.
Nimmo.
I just don't see it. Scherzer and Verlander. The last couple, Verlander was healthy all last year. Scherzer's been doing pretty good health-wise. I think that this team, if you look at Marte's career, it isn't hurt a ton. Francisco Lindor's had some healthy seasons. Pete Alonso's an Iron Man. I think this team has the least injury concerns. Hopefully I don't jinx them. Least injury concerns. And they have one of the best teams as well, just rotation-wise. However, bullpen, yeah, you pick up, Dave Robertson. Good pickup. Good setup guy for Edwin Diaz, but now he might have to be the closer.
And Robertson, I think he has some closing experience, so
he's going to have to be the closer, I think.
It's not the end of the world. They're probably going to have to get another guy off the free agent market, I'd imagine. But, losing Diaz definitely sucks. He's arguably last year was the best closer in baseball. But, I mean, they're going to be fine. I mean, it's one player. They're still deep as far as pitching goes, and offensively they're deep too. So the Mets, to me, I just think if it's any year to win the division, it has to be this year. And I understand the Braves. The Braves are going to be good too. I think they're going to be I think they're the second place team. not. It's going to be a razor thin. I think like last year, it's going to be neck and neck throughout the whole entire year. The Braves, like, what can you say? I mean, as far as like ripping guys off for like cheap contracts, they're really good at that. Signing guys for undervalue. They get like, I mean, Ozzy Albies getting like
$7 million a year
for $75 million or whatever, like a 10-year contract.
He's getting paid less than Key Bryant.
I mean, the dude could have got like double or triple that in the free agent market. Like they got locked up Austin Riley. They have Acuna for like 5 more years.
Austin Riley's an MVP candidate to me.
Yeah. Austin Riley's gonna get an MVP.
I
mean, the kid is incredible.
Literally every core piece they are thinking about building around long term. They have them locked up for a very long time. Yeah. Every one of them.
This might sound crazy though. I think there's 3 90+ win teams in this division.
You think the Phillies are gonna win 90 games?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this rotation, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Andrew Suarez, Taijuan Walker. Those are 4 solid pitchers.
No, they are.
And then on top of that, you pick up Trey Turner.
No,
get a depth piece in Jay Hay.
Yeah.
Still have Schwarber. Bryce Harper's coming on back. You still got Alec Boehm. Great year last year. High average hitter. Rare you get to see a high average hitter, especially someone like 6'5" like him. And then just on top of that, I just think the team has a lot of depth. Brandon Marsh still. You still have Nick Castellanos. One of the best catchers in baseball, JT Realmuto. I think that it's neck and neck between them and the Braves. But I think that the Phillies will be my second place team, and then the Braves.
Okay.
Because I think the Braves do have a solid rotation. You got Fried, Morton, Wright, and Strider. Good solid pitchers. But I think that Morton's obviously going to be good again, but I think you're going to start seeing like someone like him take one step back. I think Fried was a little inconsistent at the tail last year. Still going to be a great pitcher. Was a Cy Young candidate. I think it was last year or the year before. But still, I just think that the Phillies just have a little bit more. And that's nothing against the Braves. I still think any other division, they'd be first or second place. But I think just because of how good the Braves and Mets are, I'm going to go Mets, Braves, Phillies, and Braves.
Yeah, I think the Phillies are obviously they're a good team, but I don't know. I just think a lot of last year
they're streaky.
Yeah, and I think they're going to get off to a bit of a slow start, not having Harper, but I still think they're obviously a good team. You add Trey Turner, who's a 300 hitter. You have JT Realmuto. Those are 2 guys right there, and their pitching is good. But I don't know. I feel like they kind of hover around 85, like 88 wins to me. I think they can be a wild card team, but I certainly don't think they're winning the division, though. But, I think it's more so that it's not that the Phillies aren't good. It's just the division they're in. Yeah. Like, if you put them, like, let's say, the AL Central, they're probably winning the division, or they're going to be close with Cleveland. If you put them in the, I don't know, think of even the NL Central. I'd pick them to win the NL Central. Like, it's just, like, they're just in a division with 2 great teams. That's why I don't consider them as like high.
But here's my thing though. I think all 3 of them are going to have 90+ wins because you're not playing all your division teams anymore.
That's true.
You're playing everyone else. So it's just like, yes, you're playing one extra series against these teams. But the Phillies now get to play teams out of their division more than they play the Braves and Mets. That's going to be beneficial to all 3 of those teams.
No, that's true.
I think this might be like a historic year, and no injuries permitting. Like, everyone stays healthy for all 3 teams. All 3 of these teams are going to have 90+ wins. Wouldn't be shocked if I saw one of the teams put up 100.
It's not impossible to think the Phillies can win over 90 games. I don't know. I think I'd probably put them right at 90, like on the dot as far as win total. But
there's going to be one team at 90, one team at like 93, and then the last team at like 98, something like that.
That's very possible. I could see that. I can't see that though. But I don't know if we did. I don't know. Like, do you think who do you have like as far as your division, Ben, in like division order for the NL East?
Yeah, that's tough. It really is going to be neck and neck, especially between the Braves and the Phillies. That's going to be neck and neck. And I don't know, the Phillies are just, we saw in the World Series and through the playoffs that they're hot and cold. They are, and they just got cold at the wrong time. That's what it really came down to for them last year. I don't know. I guess I probably... it's just so hard to put the Mets first because, they just always find a way to underperform. No matter who they have, they always find a way to underperform, and it's very unfortunate because, Cohen, right? I mean, he wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had the best offseason that we've seen in a while. They let DeGrom walk to sign Brandon Nimmo and to re-sign Nimmo and to sign Verlander. I mean, that is huge brain activity from Steve Cohen. It's unbelievable. So I probably am going to have to put the Mets first, now that I think about it. I think it's going to be neck and neck between the Braves and the Phillies, but I'm probably going to go Mets, Braves, Phillies.
Mm-hmm. And then Marlins.
And then the Marlins and the Nationals.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, you probably go to the NL Central or NL West.
I think we should save NL Central for last, so we could do the Pirates last.
Shoot.
Yeah.
All right, so so I'm just gonna get into it for the top two teams. I think
Padres, Dodgers.
Padres, Dodgers. So I'll explain some of these teams. Dodgers pick up Noah Syndergaard, have Clayton Kershaw, What's the Julio Urias? There's so many Urias. Trevor May, Tony Gonsolin, solid 5 pitchers. Still have Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Pick up David Peralta. Trace Thompson had a good year last year.
Is May coming back this year?
I think he's supposed to because he had Tommy John last year.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but he's supposed to.
He was out the whole season, so I'm guessing he's going to be back this year.
At some point, you'd imagine.
Here's the thing, though. You lose one of your closers, so like their bullpen isn't looking very good. But they'll probably call someone up who's going to be like a sub-2 ERA.
Their farm system is endless players, man.
But look out for Miguel Vargas, though.
No, yeah.
He's going to be a stud. So that's one guy for the Dodgers. Had a really, really good spring training. So now I'm going to go to the Padres. We could compare them. Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Blake Snell. That's your top 3. Yeah. That's a good top 3. Especially when Snell's on. Musgrove's always on. Yu's always on.
Yep.
You pick up Nelson Cruz, which tail end of his career. You pick up Matt Carpenter.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you pick up Xander Bogaerts.
I was actually saying because of Yu Darvish, Nelson Cruz on the same team.
Oh yeah.
The Rangers. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the Astros and the Cubs.
Yeah.
Because Yu Darvish lost millions and millions and tens of millions because of the Astros cheating scandal. He lost tens of millions because of that game.
Mm-hmm.
No,
and that was a Nelson Cruz thing, right?
Well, Nelson Cruz.
Cruz was on the Twins that year, I think.
I don't think he was on the Astros or Dodgers, no.
No, who am I thinking of?
Oh. What are you talking about? Like, what are you, like, referring to? I'm confused. Like, Yu Darvish and who?
Nelson Cruz?
No, who am I thinking of?
Yoli Gurriel.
No.
They had Jose Altuve.
Who was it? Who was it with Alex Cora? Who was that? Who was
Alex
the player?
Cora.
Who's the player with Alex Cora? Carlos Beltran?
Carlos Beltran, that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
No, that makes sense.
All right, we can snip all that out.
Well, we'll snip it out. Yeah, but anyways, with
Rewind.
No, it's good. It happens. Let's see. Yeah, no, I'll keep going though. Yeah, and so you get all these players. This is where we could pick up right here. So you get all these players. Cruz. I know he's like later in his career. Carpenter. You still have Tatis, but I mean, picking up Tatis should be back now. And you have Xander Bogaerts coming in, Manny Machado, Cronenworth, and Juan Soto. I mean, they're in contention with.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm picking them to win the division. Padres. I think the Dodgers' reign of winning divisions ends this year. I'm picking the Padres.
Well, what do you feel?
I just feel like their offense. It's loaded. Their pitching staff's good. Their bullpen's good. Like if there's any year for the Padres to win the division, it has to be this year.
Yeah,
like, it just has to be. And the Dodgers are still going to be a playoff team. I have them as the first wild card, but the Padres, to me, I think they're just a tad bit better this year. I do, especially you add Bogaerts. You have Machado, Tatis when he gets back. I think he's suspended the first couple games of the year. Soto. Those are 4 guys that can give you 30 home runs right there and driving 400 runs and then not to mention they have other guys too. Like it's not just them. So
Cronenworth.
yeah, he was an all-star last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, your lineup's stacked as long as guys stay healthy. So if you get Juan Soto last year, he was still good, but he wasn't as good as he was in 2021. If you can get 2021 Juan Soto, you can get 2021 Tatis. Dude, you're gonna probably win 100 games. I think they're gonna win 100 games this year.
You know what? Here's the thing. You bring up a valid point. This team, on paper, is definitely better. I agree. And Xander Bogaerts, I've already mentioned, he's one of my favorite players. I think he's really underrated too. And I think Juan Soto, you're gonna get a good Juan Soto no matter what happens. He's rather gonna hit. He's gonna every single year. Doesn't get hurt. Gonna be an Iron Man. Fernando Tatis, as long as he doesn't like do anything off field crazy and dumb, he should be there too. No disrespect, Tatis, but and then like the rotation too. I mean, some of the three pitchers. The thing that just worries me is for some reason the Dodgers just always have their numbers when they play head to head, and I just don't know what it is. I mean, I'm tentatively picking the Padres for it. I agree with you because on paper, and like if you look at the injury history of this team, they're probably going to be a healthy team. But there's just something about the Dodgers though. For some reason, they always have someone come up, and that you still have Mookie Betts, Will Smith, and Freddie Freeman. That's a solid big three right there. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really, really tight.
Trey Turner's gone.
That hurts. That hurts.
I mean, that
and
hurts
Seager's
a
been
lot.
gone for a couple years now.
Gone.
So tentatively going with the Padres, but they're just Miguel Vargas coming up. I think he's going to be a stud. I mean, you lose Justin Turner too. Yeah, I'll go Padres, but like I said, there's something about the Dodgers. They just have their number. But for now, I'm going to pick the Padres.
Well,
but I'm just saying they're in the rear view.
I'll say this: the Padres, they did beat the Dodgers in the NLDS last year, so maybe they're starting to turn a corner. Like getting.
They did beat them in the NLDS. You're right about that. But I'm just saying, like regular season record wise, it's lopsided.
No, that is true. I will say this: that the Dodgers, they're going to be a good team. I just think, like they look a little thin to me in certain positions, and
it's not like how it usually is. Yeah.
But they're gonna somehow replenish and get guys out of nowhere. Like that's how they do it though. But they're still gonna be a good team though. Like don't make
well over 90 wins.
Yeah. As far as the rest of the division though, it's interesting. So like, I think all three of these teams could be interchangeable too. I would probably say the Diamondbacks as my third team.
You know what? I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. Give them 2 or 3 years. You got one of the better outfields in baseball.
But say you just saw they extended Corbin Carroll for like 8 years.
And
so
I really
have
think
him for a long
and
time.
I think Corbin Carroll could win Rookie of the Year this year. In fact, he's my pick to win NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And you still have Alec Thomas, who's on Team Mexico this year, which he's born in the U.S., which I guess dual citizenship. And then on top of that, you also get Kyle Lewis too in a trade. And like I don't know, like they lose Dalton Varsho, but you pick up Lourdes Gurriel too. So you got 4 solid outfielders out there.
Nope.
And not to mention, so their issues of rotation. You still have Ketel Marte, Carson
They
Kelly.
still have Zach Gallen.
But yeah, I was gonna say
he had a
Cy Young candidate,
last year,
top 5 pitcher in baseball. No one really knew that because he was on the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks were better than anticipated last year for me.
Yeah.
So I think that the Diamondbacks take one more step. If you look at it, I just think that on paper they're better than Colorado and they're better than the Giants. But I just feel like they're the 3 team in this.
Yeah, I think their farm system's pretty good too. So they're gonna have guys come up and like hopefully produce. So yeah, I think the Diamondbacks are on the right track as far as being competitive again, though. But as far as the last 2 teams, the Giants to me, I don't know. Like they're weird to me. They're not a good team. I don't think they're like kind of like 70 to 75ish wins. I really don't see them like really doing anything much. And then the Rockies. I think the Rockies are a complete joke, honestly, of a franchise. I'm just gonna be real with you. You trade Nolan Arenado, and then you sign Chris Bryant, and your team's worse when you sign Chris Bryant than when you had Nolan Arenado. And I just don't know what they're doing. Chris Bryant, to me, he's like finished as far as being like an elite player. You sign him to like
You're calling that already?
I am.
Okay.
He just can't stay healthy. Like he
I
barely
would
played.
give that a year or two.
Okay.
But
I would too. I think Chris
don't
Bryant
you're
when he
far
was
off,
healthy.
though.
Okay. I'll semi-retract
I don't
my
think
statement.
you're far off. I mean,
When he plays, he's a very good player.
Well,
Like,
last
he
year
won
too,
MVP.
though, he was great last year when he came
No,
back. though.
he won MVP. I'm giving him his respect. What I'm saying is, it's just like he just barely played last year, and when he did play, he was good. But that's the problem. Like it seems like he's not playing a lot in recent memory. And I think when you commit that much money to a guy, I mean, that contract, I knew from the moment, I was like, oh, that's going to be a bad contract. And, like, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully he stays healthy and he produces, because that would be great for him specifically. But the Rockies, their rotation's a mess. Their offense is, like, iffy at best. I mean, I know they had C.J. Cron go off last year, but I think they're a last-place team, honestly. And I think they should honestly, if Chris Bryant has a great first half, I think they should consider trading him and just tear the team down, because they're not, the way their team is constructed, they cannot hang with the Padres or Dodgers right now. They just
not
can't.
a chance.
There's just no way.
I'm just gonna wrap it up so we could get to the NL Central.
Okay.
If you guys don't
That's
mind,
fine.
I'm gonna go Giants 4. I'm just gonna say pick up Michael Conforto, Mitch Haniger, lose Brandon Belt, Logan Webb, Alex Wood, Sean
Where's Brandon
Mania.
Belt?
What's that? He went to the
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
So they lost Rodon too.
And they lost Rodon, but
That's,
you get Mania to replace him,
Yeah.
which, like, their rotation still isn't awful, but it's still not, like, it's good, but it's not, like, great. So I'm going to go with them 4,
No.
and then the Rockies 5. I just wanted to say real quick, Elejaros Montero had 3 home runs in spring training, top prospect for the Rockies. Watch out for him. But, yeah, that's my – does anyone have anything different?
No,
for
I'm
that?
not gonna. I think I agree with 1 through 5. Honestly,
Did you say Padres taking the division?
Yeah, I got Padres, Dodgers,
Yeah, I have this
Diamondbacks.
terrible feeling that the Padres are going to underperform. But that's not going to stop me from putting them first in the division.
Fair enough.
I think they're going to take the division. I just have this
I have the
feeling
same
that
feeling.
no, I
just have this
know what you
feeling
mean.
that there's just so much hype between those 4 guys.
Yeah.
There's just so much hype that I don't know. Maybe Tatis gets hurt. But what is that infield going to look like?
Good question.
Are they
Here's the
putting
thing,
Bogaerts
though.
at third?
You still have Ha-Seong Kim, who had a really good season last year at short. Do you put Tatis in the outfield?
I think that's their plan.
He's just getting bumped, man.
Because like
he's-
Ha-Seong Kim
I wouldn't be surprised
is
if
a
they traded him.
better shortstop, like better defensive shortstop than Fernando Tatis.
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to trade him in the next year or two.
Tatis.
Yeah.
If he has a great year, they can get a hell of a lot of return
Yeah.
for him. They can get a crap
It
ton of
wouldn't be a
prospects.
bad idea. He's kind of a liability.
No, that's not. I can't really disagree with that, because he really hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah.
So
2021, yeah.
yeah.
But when he did play, he batted over 270 with 42 homers.
No, he's
like
I remember his rookie year, dude. He was ridiculous. He batted over 300 as a rookie. So the talent's there. It's just he has to stay on the freaking field.
but
so
it's now time for the division.
the best for last, the NL Central.
Do you guys want to just do Brewers, Cardinals, Cubs, Reds, and then finish it off with the Pirates?
No, I'm taking the Cardinals. I'll do Cardinals.
Yeah.
Oh no! I'm saying, do you want to go over this team?
Oh yeah.
I'm going Cardinals too,
Okay.
by far and away. I think the Cardinals, like picking up Wilson Contreras, and then having Jordan Walker for the full season, which I think can also be an NL. I think it's going to come down to Walker and Corbin Carroll for NL Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
I think that this Cardinals team, I mean, you still have Wainwright, you still have Michaelis. I mean, the rotation isn't amazing. Like Flaherty, I mean, Jordan Montgomery had a good year. Flaherty was bad though. If Flaherty could pick it up though, I think this team runs away with it.
Oh yeah. It's just
Still have Tommy Edman, Goldie, Arenado, Nolan Gorman.
you said it, man. I don't got to repeat it, but the Brewers to me, they feel like a team that's going to tank big time this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm tempted to pick the Cubs to finish second.
Yeah,
I really am.
I am too. Actually, I am putting the Cubs.
I'm going to go with the Cubs in second place.
absolutely
I know that's
putting the Cubs
wild
in
to
second.
say, but
I don't think it's very wild. to
okay.
say.
Yeah, the
I
Brewers
agree.
to me, I feel like they're just year after year, it feels like they're taking steps back, and I feel like this year,
Yeah,
it's
they also missed their window. They had
Yeah.
a little window.
And then Yelich isn't the same player. It's clear. We have a big enough sample size. I don't think he's going to return the MVP form. I really don't.
I just think it depends on how the Cubs rotation does.
No.
Because the Cubs definitely. I mean, you pick up Eric. So listen to this. You picked up all these players in the same offseason, And you literally just traded away the house, like in 2021. And now we're talking about them being second place in this division. You pick up Eric Hosmer, Trey Mancini, Dansby Swanson, a top 5, top 10 shortstop.
Got Bellinger, too.
Patrick Wisdom, Ian Happ, Nico Horner. Unbelievable year last year.
They made some big moves.
Tucker Barnhart, Jan Gomes, good catching core. And then your rotation is Stroman, Hendricks, Smiley, Jameson Taillon, and Justin Steele.
Now, I will say this. Seiya Suzuki, I think, is going to miss the first month of the season, so that's going to hurt.
And he'll be back, though.
But if he gets back, I mean, and if Bellinger, I hate to say this, but I don't think he's going to ever be that same guy again. But if he can be, like, even half
of it.
The Cubs, they're going to be, and like, you mentioned it, they, like, cleaned house, and they still won 74 games last year. So they're like on, and their farm system's like replenished too. So they're on the right track to being a very competitive
and
team
Christopher
again.
Morel too, and Nelson Velasquez. Like they just got like.
No, the Cubs. I would not be surprised if next year they're in the playoff race. I would not be surprised.
Here's my only worry though: is there something the Brewers, like we talked about the Rays?
Yeah.
Brewers are the same way.
Yeah,
like they still got some players like Willie Adames, Urias, Rowdy Tellez.
Their pitching's gonna keep them.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Their rotation is still top 5 in baseball.
No, it's very
Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. That's
unbelievable.
That's stacked. And then you got Eric Lauer and Adrian Hauser is your 5 guy. Adrian Hauser would be like a 3 or 2 on a lot of teams.
Yeah. My thing is, I think they're going to trade Corbin Burns at some point this year. If not this year, next year, because like the arbitration thing, that was, when that's an issue, that's a problem. And I think
smaller markets always have trouble.
That's what I'm saying. So I think I would not be surprised if that. Here's why I picked the Brewers 3rd. If they get off to a slow start and they know they're not going to be anywhere remotely close to competing for a World Series this year, I think you can see them clean house to some extent, and I think that's why I have them in 3rd. That's I'm going to go out on a limb and say that.
Yeah. No, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna. Here's the thing. Like, I really think it's interchangeable.
No,
I really think that the Brewers could be 2nd. In fact, there's like a gut feeling that they will be 2nd for some reason. I don't know what it is. It's just that rotation. But I'm gonna agree with you guys. I'm gonna go after seeing. I saw what the Cubs are doing. I kept an eye on it. I think that the Cubs have a solid team this year. They have a good mix of veteran talent and young players like Nico Horner and just players like that, and like Christopher Morel, players coming up. Yeah, Cubs bullpen concerns me big time, but I'm still gonna go with I'll go Cubs 2nd, Brewers 3rd, Reds 5th, Pirates 4th.
Yeah, I'll go Pirates 4.
Pirates 4.
And I'll go Reds 5.
Well, I think the Pirates are going to get 70 wins.
Ooh, shoot.
I do.
I think they can too. I think
too.
I think they're going to hit 70 on the dot this year. I believe.
Before we go into the Pirates, I do want to just touch on the Reds.
Okay.
Their big pickup was Will Myers this year, and Kevin Newman and Chad Pinder. Pirates made better moves, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, their rotation, Hunter Green's going to be good. Luke Weaver's good. Lodolo had a good year. But, Ashcraft and Sessa, I mean, the rotation's like okay, but like I really think with how Brubaker pitched in the second half of the season, Mitch Keller having a sub 4, like almost having like, what was it, 3.20 something ERA?
It was like 3. It was somewhere in the 3.
It was 3 something.
Yeah, but opening day.
He's starting opening day.
And then like Vince Velasquez has had a sneaky good spring training. You still have Roansy, Contreras, and Rich Hill. I mean, this is Jekyll and Hyde compared to last year's rotation.
Yeah.
And you still have Johan Oviedo, too.
So here's what I'll say with the Pirates. So I still don't think they're a good team, but they're a lot better than where they were last year. And I think they remind me a lot. You can disagree or agree with me. They remind me a lot of the 2011 team. Like they have talent, but they're just not quite there yet as far as being like really competitive. And I think next year, it's going to be like the determining factor whether or not this rebuild's like actually on schedule. Because I think you're going to see with this year, if O'Neal Cruz can get better, if Ke'Bryan Hayes can get better, Brian Reynolds can still do his thing. Hopefully they figure out that whole issue. I really hope they do, because if they can, that'll make life go a lot easier for the Pirates as a whole. The rotation, like I said, if Roansy Contreras can build upon what he did last year, he's had a very good World Baseball Classic, by the way. If Mitch Keller can build it off of it, if Brubaker can be relatively competent and not have those stretch where he pitches very poorly. You know, Vince Velasquez, if he can be Jose Quintana of last year, you know, you have something there, and then your bullpen's a lot better too than last year. And like hopefully Bednar, you know, he can be solid again. He kind of like tailed off last year, whether or not it was because he was overused or he was hurt. You know, hopefully he can get back to that. And you know, your offense is going to be a lot better. Obviously, you got McCutchen too. He's going to provide pop and veteran leadership that they need. You mentioned Santana. He still has pop, though, even though he's a little bit older. G-Man Choi, you're going to platoon those guys. You know, this team, I think they can win 70 games. I do. And I think it would be nice to see if 2 or 3 prospects get called up this year. I would like to see Peguero get called up. I also want to see if Nick Gonzalez can make
Andy Rodriguez
too. He's probably the catcher of the future. If he can get called up, if Nick Gonzalez can get called up, I think, you know, you can really start to see, like, you can have a better idea of what this team's going to look like when they actually want to compete, hopefully. So my only concern, though, is Henry Davis. I'm a little bit concerned about him not panning out, but hopefully, you know, it's just last year was just a blip in the radar, and I'm proven wrong. But that's all I'll say with the Pirates. You guys can go.
Yeah, for me, I think something minor is like you got a lot of pull hitters this year. G-Man, strict pull. Carlos Santana, strict pull. Jack Sawinski, strict pull hitter. Koch used to be all around, but now he pulls the ball a ton. Connor Joe, pull hitter. Rodolfo Castro, pull hitter. No shift anymore. So I think you're going to see an uptick on everyone's statistics for this team. That's another thing, too. And plus, you add veterans and Carlos Santana and McCutchen.
Yeah.
G-Man Choi, I mean, he had some really good seasons for Tampa. I hope it's not like a Satsuga thing, but I think G-Man Choi is actually legit. So
I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to mention one thing. So I'm a little bit concerned with Jack Sawinski too. Like the average kind of worries me, but I mean, if he can keep the pop, I think that would be good. But here's what I'll say. So Travis Swaggerty, he's had a really good spring, and I think he's like really pushing for a starting job this year. I would not be surprised if he takes it from Sawinski, and that's not like I'm not disrespecting Sawinski, but I think Swaggerty. I mean, they drafted him in the first round for a reason, and I think
11th overall.
Yeah,
from South Alabama.
If he can like put together that this year, if he can like become like a major league player, that would be so huge. I mean, it's not even funny. Like that'd be really huge for them long term. So I just wanted to throw it there. I'm sorry.
I also think that like a lot of players similar to Swaggerty, I think Swaggerty's had a good spring training, but Cannon Smith and Najigba's had a good spring training. Same with Cal Mitchell too.
Yeah.
And the only thing with Cal Mitchell is like you really can't defend at all.
Oh no.
I mean, he's a good hitter, like solid hitter at the tail end of last year, but not a good defensive player. But yeah, I think this team is gonna win, 70 games for sure. I think there's gonna be improvement on this team because let's get real, McCutchen is an improvement over Gamble. Like Santana, Choi, and Joe as your first base core. Meanwhile, all you had was Chavis last year and then Zach Collins at the end of the year. I mean, Chavis had a solid year, but he wasn't a true first baseman.
No.
And then your middle infield, O'Neal Cruz, I'm excited to see his first full season. Rodolfo Castro had a good second half.
Yeah, he did.
What we need is Key Brian Hayes to get some pop because his defense is there. So, yeah, for me, I'm going to give them 71 to 77 games. I know that's a little positive. We're going to go a little positive here because you can't be bad forever. They had one of the worst 3-year stretches in baseball history. It ends this year. All right, you good? What's your opinion, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a few big things that they've been banking on for years now, which is Mitch Keller is one of the biggest things, is that they've needed him to get to a point where he doesn't give up at least 2 runs every single start that he pitches. I think he's getting to that point. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Mitch Keller is as bad as he was a few years ago, but he's still not a stud. But, I think that Mitch Keller is going to get the job done this year.
Yeah.
I think with Brian Hayes, that's the other thing. Pop has always been a concern with him, is the pop in his bat, that it's just not there. I think it's still too early to call, but I think I would consider trading Brian Hayes within the next couple of years, I would. I think that was a bad contract. I think it's maybe a little early to call.
I think she gave it to Reynolds before.
Yeah, I would pay Reynolds first. I would
and then
give you that.
O'Neal Cruz came up, and they were like, "Oh no, oh no." But I don't think Brian Hayes is a bad player. He's just not really doing it for me.
No, I can see why you'd say that. Here's
Yeah.
what I'll say. I always knew he wasn't really much of a power hitter, but my thing is I just want him to hit well. Like, I don't care if he hits 20 home runs or 2 home runs. He needs to be hitting better than 240. I think he's a lot better player than that. Like, if you remember 2020, we got called up. I mean, there was that stretch there. He was really good. He was spraying the ball all over the field, and he was on base. I need that production. I don't really care so much for power, and I think if he can give you that, I mean, we only paid him $70 million, so considering he's arguably the best defensive third baseman in baseball, and even that's not a bad contract. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. So, I mean, you know, the amount of years, that's a bit concerning. I'll give you that, but I mean, $70 million, that's not bad. I know for the Pirates, it's a lot of money though. But I will say this: I will agree with the Brian Reynolds saying they should have paid him first, but that's a whole other topic though. But
What do you guys think about G1 Bay, by the way?
G1
I think he's
Bay.
going to be solid. He's going to be a really good utility guy.
And like you mentioned it too, like Mitch Keller, while he wasn't like awesome last year, he was, compared to what he's been his first couple of years, he was terrible. And like he made significant improvements last year. So I think if he can build upon that, I think Runzi Contreras, I mean, we mentioned a bunch of guys. If they could if all these guys like semi pan out this year and produce like we know they're capable of, I think they could win 75 games. I'm willing to go that high. I'm willing to go 75.
My cap 77, my minimum 71. So what I like about it, I'm just going to bring up Glass now again. Will be my last remark before we go off, but they didn't want to make the same mistake they did with Tyler Glass now, with Mitch Keller.
And I think you're starting to see why, because he's starting to finally put it together. So, you know, hopefully, if they lose 100 games, I'll be very disappointed. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, they cannot afford to lose 100 games again.
I'll say this right now. If they lose 100 games this season,
tear it down.
I will not watch the first month of 2024 baseball. I'll be watching the KBO. I'm going to be a man of my word on this. If the Pirates lose over 100 games, April through May, I'm not going to watch one game at MLB.
No.
It's going to be just KBO.
No, I'm going to hold you to that too, by the way.
I don't know. It's just a weird bet I'm going to have.
No, you're cool. Yeah. Cool. Shoot. But that was pretty much our predictions for 2023. Knowing how my NFL ones went, mine are probably going to go terribly wrong this year. The Pirates won 105 games. You know, that's how it goes. But, you know, thanks for coming on the show, Ben. Really appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me.
You should definitely hop on more, maybe throughout the summer.
Especially through the summer.
Yeah, baseball's the main topic.
Yeah.
So, you have anything else you want to add, Tony?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys want to listen to our podcast, there's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Anything you want to add?
Andrew McCutchen absolutely changed the city of Pittsburgh, and he is an all-time Pittsburgh legend, and I am emotionally happy that he is back. And I don't expect him to absolutely pop off, but I think he's going to have a solid year. I think this is where he belongs. I think he might give us over 20 homers.
No, that's not far-fetched.
That would be awesome. I don't think it's completely far-fetched.
No, it's not.
And, that's just completely awesome. And a very random thing is I actually, a few weeks ago, played I didn't really play a guitar, but I held a guitar that belonged to Andrew McCutchen.
That's sick.
Did you know that?
Was it Tori's dad?
No, it's Lindsay Bosco has it.
Oh, yeah, she knows McCutchen's mom.
Yeah, so Joe's sister, I guess, babysits for McCutchen.
Oh,
And he gave her the guitar, and she gave it to Lindsay, and she pulled it out a couple weeks ago, and so that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. That was very random. I was not expecting that at all, but that was very cool.
No, that is.
But yeah, I absolutely love McCutchen.
He hits lefties well, too. That's what the Pirates needed.
McCutchen hits lefties
and
well.
Connor Joe hits lefties well. So.
Yeah. So I love McCutcheon.
McCutcheon's the guy.
You couldn't have said any better. Couldn't have. And by the way, they should have never traded him too. That's why he should have been a Pirate for life. But that's another story.
You know, it ended up being good though. Because
Well, they got Brian Reynolds.
and now they get Cutchin back.
Yeah.
The only one you don't have out of that deal still is Kyle Crick. So
Yeah. Shoot. No, I'll give you. I can't. I always say that, but then I forget. Oh, you had Brian Reynolds too. So can't forget that though. But that was our show for this week. I'm Frantene Rosé. I'm Justin Stewart. We'll do it again soon, folks. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.